Hello, my name is Jennifer Ruckman. I teach sixth grade language arts and social studies to gifted sixth graders. I wanted to thank my colleagues who teach LASS to general education students for providing me with this time in our humanities department meeting to discuss the University of Washington's completely free Philosophers in the Schools program. At our last department meeting, we discussed the Common District Summative Assessment, or CDSA. In this essay, students present arguments about which of the ancient Chinese philosophies would be the best guiding principle for a modern middle school. We already discussed how almost all of our students have been struggling with the abstractions in Taoism, both in the primary sources as well as the informational text. I began to think that our students do not have much experience with philosophy, and providing them with the opportunity to think like a philosopher might make them more comfortable with Taoism's emphasis on interconnected opposites and abstractions. After all, students cannot make a compelling argument about why a modern middle school guided by Taoist principles would look like without understanding Taoism. Since our last meeting, I have had a PhD philosophy student come into my class to do a lesson on Plato's allegory of the cave to help my students understand symbolism. The good news is that this it's completely free and easily accessible through the University of Washington's Philosophy in the Schools program. The professional that comes into your classroom is pursuing either a master's or a doctorate in philosophy. I feel this is a wonderful opportunity for all Kamayakan students, and philosophers can easily differentiate to meet students' needs. According to Barbara Clark, the late gifted educator, and a professor of gifted education, one of the differentiating cognitive characteristics of gifted students is that they easily the early differential patterns for thought processing, for example, thinking in alternatives, abstract terms, sensing consequences, making generalizations, thinking visually, and using metaphors and analogies. According to Clark, a related need is to be expected to be exposed to alternatives, abstractions, consequences of choice, opportunities for drawing generalizations and testing them, to solve problems by using visual or metaphorical strategies. However, this is not to say that only gifted students can benefit from the philosophies in the school program. According to Bruce M. Shore, a professor of educational psychology at McGill University in Canada, just because an approach works well in gifted education does not mean that it is any less relevant elsewhere. In fact, Bruce Shore cites UNESCO that one of the contributions from gifted education to general education was linking education and creativity. Creativity is paramount in philosophy. What is a philosophical thought experiment if not an exercise in divergent thinking? Unfortunately, we are running out of time, but before I go, I wanted to answer some questions that I anticipate that you may have. Um, can you give an example of how this program helped your students better understand the material? Sure. When one of the philosophers was talking about the concept of Wu Wei and how it's hard to translate, but a close interpretation could be an effortless action. This led to a lot of discussion between the students. And after a while, and then a class discussion, one of the students said, "Oh, it's like a really good swimmer or a really good gymnast. And they're doing something very difficult, but they're making it look easy." The second question, how involved do I have to be or can I be in the lesson planning? This is a great question. The answer is you can be as involved or as uninvolved as you want. So if you had something specifically, you could ask for that, or you could just tell them your students' needs and they would find a way to meet your students' needs. And then the final question is, what impact does philosophy have on students? So this I actually took from the Center for Philosophy's website, and they cite a 2007 study that was done in Scotland that found that 10 to 12-year-old students, so exactly the age of our students, who participated in a 1-hour weekly philosophical discussion over the next 16 months had improved verbal, nonverbal, and qualitative scores on the Kogat Abilities Test. That was by an average of 7 points compared to the control group, and they were able to hold these onto these gains for the next 2 years. Thank you so much, and I hope you will all consider this wonderful free program for Kamayakan students.